All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 161 of the On Air Advocate. We're at the On Air Advocate. We look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited if you are joining us here this afternoon, or whether you are catching this on the replay. Well, as you guys know, we try each and every month to pick and put things into different series and groupings for you guys to follow along. And something that is such an important topic that we need to keep talking about each and every year, probably every month to have some kind of section on it, is really talking about all things employment for our young adults with that are differently abled, finding positions anywhere across the in and outside of the United States, and what a big issue that is. So today, I am so excited to have one of our on-air advocate community members, Chris, on today with us to share some of his experiences that he has had in the years of different employment. And so welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Tammy. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you because you have, out of many that I have interviewed, you have more job experiences and more intern experiences than a lot of different individuals that I brought on the show as we've talked about employment, and those experiences as you kind of, merged out of high school and all of that. But I would like you to just tell the audience just a tiny bit about yourself, and then where that kind of that senior year take us back to before we graduated. I know we chatted about that a little bit.
Yes. I'm Chris Blezien. I'm 38 years old. I have cerebral palsy. And I have had many job experiences. I've worked with a few agencies, Department of Rehab Services, and AIM, Achieving Independence and Mobility Center for Independent Living. And about senior year, let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a vocational class, and we all had to get jobs. There were about a handful of people, differently abled people in the class.
Okay.
It was more like a sheltered classroom type situation.
Okay.
Where I was, sorry about that, where I was with my peers. And they basically put us in a room. They said, we'll get you guys jobs. We'll give you guys a job. Here, Chris, here's a job at the library. I didn't really like it because of the fact that I didn't earn it. I didn't have to interview for it. It was kind of just handed to me and given to me. It also was at a time during the day at lunch hour, which I didn't agree with. So I ended up quitting after a month and searching for jobs on my own. I came across a job on the school bulletin board one day. I looked, called the Kane County Cougars. I looked at the bulletin board. I was like, oh, I'm excited about baseball. I've always loved baseball since I was a kid. So I might as well give this a shot, So I went to the bulletin board and called the Cougars up, filled out the application online, filled it out this is back when they still had paper applications. So I asked them, can I fill it out online? They said sure, and I filled it out. They interviewed me and loved me. I ran out of the room. I was so excited that I got a job in the souvenir shop as a cashier, as seasonal. That I ran out of the thing. Thanked the interviewer because I thought the interview was over. It was over, and my mom's like, Chris, did you get the job? And I'm like, Mom, I'm not sure if I got the job or not. She said, go back in and check. And the interviewer said, who's the GM now, by the way, said at the Kane County Cougars, said, Chris, you got the job. You know, I'm happy to tell you you got the job. I said, thank you, sir. I mean, I was so happy. I ended up spending 7 seasons at that ballpark intermittently between 2000 and 2007.
Wow. And you know what? A lot of other individuals that are differently able don't always have that experience that, you know, that one that they submitted on their own. Because like we talked about, there's those places like, you know, the Department of yours.
Rehabilitation.
Yeah, and ours is Department of Vocational Services, you know, that is usually aiding and helping in that process. And you did the application on your own, went in and landed the position. And so that's a rarity. That's a rarity in this whole pool of trying to find employment. Now, after that souvenir shop, Chris, when you were done there, so you did it for those seasons, were you looking for something else, or did they kind of transition that position out?
I was looking for something else. I say intermittently between the 7 because there was one in between the 7 that I did an internship with Disney in 2003. I went to college at College of Dupage and saw this bulletin board signed like a poster type thing, and said Walt Disney World internships apply here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, what in the world? Why not do it? You know,
Right.
You only get one shot at it. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I went to the interview. The interviewer was impressed with me. I didn't know anything about living on my own, and was honest. I said, you know, sir, I don't, because the interns lived down in Orlando, Florida, for 8 months in Disney sponsored housing. Basically, they take the money out of your check every week.
Okay.
And it was wonderful. They were very accommodating. The apartments were accessible. Okay. And there was no place that was more accessible than Disney for an internship. Then word came, I got the interview, and then the interviewer said, you did very well, and they sent me a letter saying I had to be in a waiting period.
Okay.
Because of people dropping out of the internship pool. Sometimes they don't have space for you, and sometimes the viewer is like, let them have like in a waiting pool and let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. Somebody dropped out or something, you know, gave up their internship, and they said, good news, I've got good news for you. They sent a letter, great news, congratulations, you got on the internship after a couple weeks.
That's awesome. And how was that living on your own, going from never living on your own to living in that like housing situation?
It's very difficult because you had roommates, but you have to be upfront with the roommates and tell them that you have this disability and what it entails, what your medical issues are, what you can't do, so they know what they need to help you with. And maybe most of the roommates were very accommodating and very helpful. And when there were issues, there was a housing office that you could go to and talk to the person. There were also disability type advocates there that you could talk to, both on the job. If you needed accommodations like a uniform that fit, or if buttons were too hard for you to do, they had Velcro. They had all kinds of accommodations there.
Okay, so that overall was a great experience. So, you know, going from the time with the baseball, then to Disney, I mean, that adds to your resume as well. As you were adding those together, did you seek out any of the agencies to kind of help compile a resume for you after you?
No, I did not. No.
Okay, you didn't after you were done at Disney. So then where did you go after Disney's internship?
I went back to the Cougars.
Okay. Um, and how long were you with them then?
Seasonal jobs from 2004 to 2007.
Okay, for that. And then were you, I was just looking here, after you were done at the Cougars, then where did that take you?
That took me to Walmart
Okay,
as a people greeter.
okay,
I would greet the guests, and I would stay there for 7 years. Their main concern was, were you ready to give up the Cougars though? And and I'm like, yeah, yes, I will be honest with you. I did have the itch to go back in 2008. I was really itching to go back. And I asked my boss, I said, can we do this, again and see if we can adjust my schedule for seasonal. They were very accommodating. They understood perfectly. So that was kind of my last season in 2008. Yeah.
okay. And then you ended at Walmart in 2014.
Yes. So I
Okay,
was working 2 jobs simultaneously.
okay. And then where did you go after that? You were in the guest services. You were in there at Walmart as well. You were a greeter and you worked in other guest services, or no?
Yeah, I worked in other guest services at Chicago Cubs in 2017. It took me a few years to get a job, find employment, but I found it on the Cubs website.
Okay.
Under careers, there was like a thumbnail link at the very bottom of the website that says careers. If anyone's ever been to the Chicago Cubs website, you can search for different careers. And sometimes it's better to just apply on your own.
Then going through, you think, some of the agencies that are out there sometimes.
Yeah, because I then went to DRS in between going to the Cubs.
Okay. And so since that time with the Cubs and in 2017, you had a very big stretch where, especially for so many that are seeking employment that are differently able, there's so many challenges. You seemed like that first beginning time frame, that first 10 plus almost 20 years, was very strong. And then right now, for the last how many years has it been more difficult to find employment?
It has been very difficult because I have been with Ames Center for Independent Living, and they have helped me with resume writing, interview skills, doing mock interviews, Achieving Independence and Mobility Center for Independent Living in Downers Grove. Hello to you guys, if you guys are watching there. You guys have been wonderful, especially Stephanie and Lindsay. Thank you very much. Sorry, Tammy, you had to give a shout out.
No, that's great to give them a shout, because we need to give praise to all the businesses, agencies, whatnot, that are doing a good job, that are trying to really, really help people seek and find positions.
Yeah, they are very, very helpful, and they will encourage you to do it on your own. They will encourage you to go on Indeed.com, go on Career Builder, and work on your resume. And sometimes they will tell you, jazz up your resume a little bit, like more color on it, or put different background information on it.
Right. And what do you think, or why, for the last 3 years, right, it's been quite a struggle? Have you seen, employers really, obviously we know Walmart, they did have some pulling back to their greeters and things like that. Have you seen more businesses really not embracing hiring those with different abilities in the last couple of years? Do you feel like a couple of years ago you saw more of that?
Unfortunately, yes, Tammy. I've been on several job interviews and they seem to not want to hire people with disabilities.
Right. And you're in the Chicagoland area?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm in the Wisconsin area. So we're not, very far apart, but I mean, here in Wisconsin, it is hard. And if anyone has listened to my show and listened to me talk, I mean, like 2 years to get 2 hours worth of work a week. I mean,
Yeah.
for my adult son, it has been extremely, extremely challenging that way. So at this point, what active steps are you taking, Chris, to try? You're working with this agency. And what is the name of that agency again? I want to write that down.
Achieving Independence and Mobility Center for Independent Living.
Okay. You're working with them right now. And so you've been working with them for the last 2.5, 3 years?
2 years, yes. 2.5, 3 years. Correct.
Okay. And now have you gone back to working with your organization that's kind of like our Department of Vocational Services here in Wisconsin, where they kind of help and aid you in finding positions? Have you gone back to work with your agency like that in Chicago?
No, not really. Not really, Tammy. The first time I kind of got the "you're too independent, you've done too much." And I'm
I can
thinking,
understand
okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that because a lot of times, for those folks that might be watching that don't know, when you're talking about the Department of Vocational Service, Rehabilitation Services, anyone with any type of functional disability or cognitive developmental disability can go there. But once you land certain positions, sometimes they don't always see that there's that continuing need at, as great if you've done things on your own. And since you went ahead and you did some of those applications and stuff yourself, but if you look at the rate here, it's, we have gone through them and it still takes with them helping if you've never even had a position a couple years. And then that's not even really part-time employment. That's like 2 hours a week. So that adds up to not even one full shift in a month for that. And so, Chris, as people are listening, what would be some suggestions for those that are differently able, encouraging things that they can do to possibly maybe find other avenues? I mean, I love that you said that you went ahead and went to that board and called those places yourself. I love that.
Yes, the first thing you can do, find your Center for Independent, your local Center for Independent Living, or CIL for short. They can help you sometimes and most of the time, and don't accept it when Department of Rehabilitation Services says no. Don't think that that's the end of the road. Also, I would like to mention, contact your political representatives and let them know what's going on. Because if you're not getting satisfaction from Department of Rehab, they need to know about it because they're higher up than they are, and or speak to the Department of Rehab bosses and see if you can get help that way. Always vote, always speak out to your state representatives.
Right.
And local representatives.
And I read an article, I posted it this week on the On Air Advocates main Facebook page, but it was from the Huffington Post newspaper. And it was talking about that many employers within their writing strategically of when you're looking for jobs, put things in there to eliminate. So it might be a desk job that you're not supposed to be lifting anything, but they have lifting qualifications on there. And so an investigator last year went undercover to kind of look at all of these jobs that are posted out there, that a lot of employers, so that they don't have to deny someone that is disabled, they put it into the job descriptions, which obviously if you were reading them, it would be like, oh, well, it says it's a desk job, but it's telling me that I have to carry all these heavy weights and walk downstairs and whatnot. So I guess it's not a job for me. And it's a great article. So if folks that are listening today haven't read it, go and read it. It's very eye-opening as to how some employers really avoid having to even take the interview, even having to get the application, because they put up those boundaries, beforehand.
Correct, Tammy. They definitely do. And I would say put those stop putting those boundaries in there for the employers, and for the applicants I would say apply anyway.
That's
Tell
it.
them what you can do, show them what you can do, what accommodations you need, and be upfront with your accommodations, see if they can work with you.
Right. I love that. And, I love, Chris, how you use your voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, you take things into your own hands. And I think that so many within our community, that they can take and extract so much from you in that, I mean, if one thing isn't working, go to the board and do the next, make the phone call if you can, if you're able to, yourself, show people your abilities. I love that. And so, Chris, what are the things that you are doing for 2020? Actively, you're still working with that center?
Yes.
And are you hoping to get back into baseball again, like something on those lines?
Yes, I'm hoping to, or get another job someplace else, like try to get a full-time job or go back to college.
Right. And when you were in the college that you went to, what different things did you go through? Did you study? Was it technical?
No, I went to their local disabilities, the disability services office, and got the accommodations I need, which were like longer time on test. For anybody that doesn't know, there are disability services offices at most colleges, and you just have to bring in medical documentation and tell them what you need.
Yes, so that you can be within the program. And there are some programs in different states that I have interviewed, some different more life colleges, as well as like Achieve. That one is in Texas, which is great on really paving the way to different programs and stuff that are out there, giving culinary degrees and whatnot. But I know you like baseball, so sports.
Yeah.
Sports. And you know what? I would think, Chris, for you, you have a lot of experience. So it's not as if you haven't done this before. So I'm definitely sending well wishes this year, putting that stuff out there for you to find something that you enjoy. And I think, Chris, before we kind of log off, I think to speak to that, do you feel like when you look at your, some of your friends which are in your same circle and your same kind of situation, a lot of times I feel like jobs are pushed upon those that are differently able that aren't really even things they're interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Some of it is, you got to speak up for yourself, and I've been fortunate where I am very blessed that I can have those jobs, and have had had people tell me, well, sometimes you have to go through a vocational services counselor. I once had the vocational services people tell me in my state that it takes 5 years for them to get somebody a job. I'm like, oh, okay, now I know why some disabled people don't want to get jobs or just give up, because it's you know it's disheartening when you hear something like that, and
It is.
emotionally draining.
And, having you on, Chris, today, I mean, just it speaks to all of those. You're having people that it takes 5 years and then they're not even getting a part-time position. It's a mini part-time position. A lot of times it's not a full-time position. So I feel like the outside world, a company, I mean, people need to hear, because people don't even realize that are not in this situation that the stuff is even going on half the time. And so the more that we can continue to use our voice and spread that, I think is so helpful.
Yes.
And you're doing just that. So, Chris, I love your spirit. I love you going after all of these things. I hope 2020 brings you something. And if you land something, can you please let me know so we can have you back on and figure out how you did that?
I definitely will, Tammy.
About those employers. And I know that you're always kind of sending good stuff. If you find good articles, good things, or you hear something positive, agencies, please send it my way. I would love to share it.
Of course I will.
All right. Anything you'd like to leave the folks with today? Any one last thought?
Yes. Don't give up on yourself and your dreams. Anything is possible if you try your best.
That's right.
And I mean, I was a guest services ambassador with the Chicago Cubs in 2017, and very few people thought I'd do that. So, and worked at Disney, worked at all these big places, big corporations. Don't ever think that you're less than an able-bodied person, a person without a disability. You're worth it, and you are equal to them, and it's about how bad you want it, not how they perceive you. Change the perception. Work harder.
I love that. Change the perception. You're going to make me cry, Chris. Some of the folks that have been on know about that. You're going to bring tears to my eyes, because it's so true. It's so true. We all need to get out there and use our voice, not let anything stop us. When adversity hits us, we need to just jump over it or under it or roll through it. However, right?
Yes, of course. Yes.
All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey with us today here at the On Air Advocate. Chris, is there a way that if anybody wanted to reach out to you, I don't know if you have a public Facebook page or if it's not, or should somebody just send me a message if they wanted to reach out to you?
Just send Tammy a message. She'll get it to me, and I can
answer it.
relay an answer back to her. I don't have a public Facebook page.
Well, that sounds great. So if anyone's listening, whether it's an employer that thinks Chris would be perfect, or whether it's others that are in this same situation and, want to bounce things off of Chris, or find out, just kind of some of his different steps, feel free to shoot me an email right on over at tammy@onairadvocate.com. As well, if you want to know any more information about the On Air Advocate, you can head over to onairadvocate.com or join our private Facebook community. You can head up to the top of this Facebook page, hit the blue button, and that will let you into our private group. And so with that, thank you so much, Chris, again, for being on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tammy. Appreciate it.
You are an inspiration. We will talk to you again soon, Chris. This won't be the last time.
Thank you so much, Tammy.
All right. Take care. Happy Monday, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.